As we age, our bodies slow down, our priorities shift, and quietly, often without warning, our relationships transform. But what happens when a woman, a wife who has spent decades beside her husband, begins to feel like a stranger in her own marriage? What happens when the man she once adored now feels like a shadow, present, but distant? It doesn't happen overnight. No dramatic fights. No betrayal. Instead, it slips in quietly. A missed conversation here. A forgotten anniversary there. A growing silence that wraps around the heart like fog. And slowly, she begins to pull away. What many couples face, but few dare to admit, is a slow unraveling. Not of love lost, but of love overlooked. This isn't about falling out of love. It's about realizing love shouldn't feel like carrying the weight of two people, alone. Today, we're peeling back the layers of a truth many older women feel but rarely say out loud. Why, as they grow older, some women begin to feel emotionally distant from the man they married. And more importantly, what can still be done to bridge that gap, before it becomes permanent. Whether you're a husband trying to understand your wife, a woman quietly wrestling with her own fading spark, or simply someone who believes in long-term love, stay with us until the end. This might change the way you see aging, love, and the lifelong dance of marriage, forever. Reason number 1, the silent weight of emotional labor. For years, decades, even many women take on the invisible work in a relationship. They remember birthdays. They plan the holidays. They juggle doctor's appointments, family events, and dinner menus. They soothe tempers, mediate family tensions, and make sure the heart of the home keeps beating. It's a role so deeply embedded, they barely realize they're doing it. But as the years go on, something begins to change. Fatigue settles in. Not just physical, but emotional. The kind of exhaustion that builds when you carry the emotional heartbeat of a family for so long, and nobody seems to notice. And here's the hard truth. Most men never even realize it. They assume things just run smoothly. They think love means showing up, without recognizing that their wives are holding up the entire sky. So she begins to feel tired. Not just of chores, but of being the only one who truly cares about how everyone feels. And slowly, she stops trying. Not because she doesn't love him, but because she's running on empty. Because love, when it feels one-sided, becomes a quiet burden. A heavy silence that no one else sees. Reason number 2, the vanishing depth in conversation. In the early days of marriage, every conversation felt like a little adventure. How was your day? What are you dreaming about lately? Tell me something I don't know about you. These weren't just words, they were bridges. Bridges that connected two hearts in ways that felt intimate, curious, alive. But over time, many husbands stop crossing those bridges. They assume they already know everything there is to know. So they stop asking. Stop wondering. Stop listening. And the conversations become transactional. What's for dinner? Did you take the pills? Don't forget to turn off the lights. Eventually, they don't just become dull. They disappear. For a woman, this isn't just silence. It's loneliness wrapped in routine. Because deep down, every woman still longs to be seen. To be heard. To be cherished, not just managed. When she no longer feels emotionally connected, she begins to fade into the background of her own life. A quiet presence that no one seems to truly notice. Reason number 3, the never-ending weight of housework. If there's one thing that quietly erodes a woman's spirit over time, it's the feeling that the work never ends. Dishes in the sink. Laundry piling up. Groceries to buy. Doctor's appointments to remember. Guests to host. Even in retirement. Even when her body aches and energy fades. The invisible checklist never stops blinking in her mind. And here's the part that stings the most. Studies show that even in modern households, women still carry the majority of domestic responsibilities. Even after decades of service. What starts as small irritations, like a pile of socks on the floor or crumbs on the counter. Slowly hardens into deep resentment. Why is it always me? Why can't he just notice? Why do I feel like the maid instead of a partner? These aren't just passing thoughts. They're cries for balance. For acknowledgement. For someone to finally say, "You've done enough. Let me help." Reason number 4, she grew. He didn't. With age often comes a hunger for more. More meaning. More learning. More life. Many older women find themselves yearning for experiences they never had time for when they were younger. Travel. Reading. Joining a new group. Volunteering. Reclaiming their voice. They start to evolve emotionally, intellectually, spiritually. But what happens when the man beside her refuses to grow with her? When he clings to the same habits, the same routines, the same narrow view of life? She begins to feel like she's living in a relationship that no longer fits. It's not a gap of age. It's a gap in soul. In energy. In direction. And she begins to wonder. Am I growing beyond this marriage? Because while love can survive many storms, it struggles to breathe in a space where one partner grows wings and the other stays grounded. Reason number 5, the quiet fate of intimacy, both physical and emotional. Intimacy isn't just about touch. It's about being wanted. It's about feeling the spark, those lingering glances. The shared jokes. The hand that reaches out just to say, "I'm still here with you." But in many long-term relationships, that spark doesn't explode, it fades, slowly. A wife may not even notice when it begins. Maybe he stops complimenting her. Maybe he no longer pulls her close without reason. Maybe the kisses become routine, or disappear altogether. And at first, she brushes it off. We're just getting older. He's tired. It's not a big deal. But over time, the absence speaks louder than any words. She starts to feel invisible. Undesired. Unimportant. And here's the truth no one says out loud. When a woman no longer feels emotionally or physically desired, not cherished, not seen, she begins to retreat. Not in anger, but in quiet, aching distance. Love doesn't always end with a bang. Sometimes, it dissolves in the spaces between two people who stopped reaching for each other. Reason number 6, retirement changed everything, but not for the better. We often paint retirement as a golden chapter. Time to relax. To travel. To finally enjoy each other's company after decades of hard work. But for many couples, retirement is not the calm after the storm. It is the storm. Suddenly, you're together all the time. Every hour. Every day. Every breath. And the reality? Most men enter retirement without a plan. They go from a life of structure to a life of stillness. And that stillness becomes her burden. Because now, he turns to her for everything. Entertainment, conversation, direction, purpose. She becomes his social life. His schedule. His caretaker. But here's what no one tells you. After decades of being everything for everyone, the cook, the cleaner, the mother, the manager, she finally dreamed of space. Freedom. A room of her own. Instead, she finds herself suffocated by expectations. Expected to be present, cheerful, available 24/7. And without her own hobbies, friendships, or passions. She begins to feel trapped in a life that no longer feels like hers. That quiet resentment doesn't always scream. But it chips away at love. One exhausted sigh at a time. Reason number 7, she no longer feels heard or valued. In a long marriage, it's not the arguments that leave the deepest scars. It's the silence. The invisibility. So many women, after years of being the emotional cornerstone of the home, wake up one day with a quiet ache. A realization that their voice no longer echoes in the heart of their marriage. They speak. They express worries. They share their thoughts. They open doors to deeper conversation. And yet, he doesn't truly listen. Not with curiosity. Not with presence. Not with the care he once offered freely. But here's the truth. A woman doesn't need grand gestures. She doesn't need roses or long speeches. She needs to know that her words still matter. That her feelings still carry weight. That she's not fading into the background of a life she helped build. When she doesn't feel heard, she pulls back. And when she pulls back emotionally, it becomes harder and harder to return. Because after a while, if she's ignored long enough, she stops trying. And when she stops trying, what's left isn't just quiet. It's the slow birth of resentment dressed in silence. Reason number 8, she realized life is short and she wants more. Aging brings with it a new lens. One sharpened by loss, reflection, and time. Friends pass away. Funerals replace celebrations. And one day, a woman looks in the mirror and realizes, time is no longer something I can take for granted. That realization cracks something open. She starts asking herself questions she used to bury beneath routines. Am I truly happy? Do I feel loved? Is this the life I want for what remains of my years? And if the answers unsettle her, she begins to retreat not in anger, but in quiet preservation. She no longer wants to beg. No longer wants to argue, to explain, to justify. She shifts her focus inward. Toward her peace, her joy, her emotional well-being. And if her husband refuses to meet her halfway, she doesn't fight. She simply lets go. Emotionally first. And sometimes, even physically. That's why some women, after decades of commitment, suddenly stop trying. Not because they stopped loving, but because they realized something profound. They deserve more than just existing in someone else's life. In the later years, love is no longer about fireworks. It's about presence, understanding, and quiet, unwavering respect. So when a woman grows distant from her husband, it's rarely because she no longer loves him. It's usually because she no longer feels seen. No longer feels valued. No longer feels like she matters. Love doesn't fade with age, it fades when we stop choosing each other. This isn't just her story. It's the story of many marriages. Of how love doesn't disappear with a thunderclap, but fades slowly. Through quiet neglect, unspoken feelings, and long stretches of emotional loneliness. It happens in those moments when she speaks, but no one listens. When she breaks, but no one notices. When she needs partnership, but meets silence instead. But here's the question worth asking. Does it have to be this way? No. Because love is not luck. It's not just chemistry. It's a choice. And just as love can fade, it can also be rekindled. If you're a husband watching this, ask yourself honestly. When was the last time you really heard her? Not just nodded, but listened. When was the last time you made her feel seen? Not just as your wife, but as a whole person? And if you're a wife who feels lost, disconnected, ask yourself, is there still a space between you two, where love could grow again? Because marriage isn't a destination. It's a daily decision. A choice to stay. A choice to show up. Even when time has changed you both. A choice to say, I still see you. I still value you. You still matter to me. If there's one truth to carry with you after this video, let it be this. Love doesn't fade because of age. It fades when we stop caring for it. Stop tending to it. Stop choosing it. So if you want your relationship to last, not just survive, but thrive in the years ahead, know this: it's never too late to start again. To choose kindness. To choose grace. To choose each other. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care of your heart. And take care of those you share it with. Because in the end, those relationships, they are the greatest treasures we ever hold.